Hello and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to be doing a tag video inspired by a zodiac sign. This tag was created by Joanne Notations. I will link her video and her channel below. I saw this on my YouTube subscription feed this morning and it just looked like so much fun. So it is officially, I think, Taurus season. I don't know when it starts or when it ends. I will be completely honest, I'm not the biggest, I'm not super into zodiac signs. I don't really know a lot about them. I know my own. I am a Taurus. I was born on May 6th, but I don't really understand the rising, the moon. I don't know what any of that is about. And obviously the time of year in which you were born doesn't actually have an effect on your personality or anything, but I think it's a really fun thing to look into. It's just fun to look at your personality traits and stuff and compare them to others, and I thought this tag looked like a lot of fun, and it's been a little bit since I've done a tag, so I thought it would be fun to film today as a little bonus video for the week. So there are 5 questions, all inspired by Taurus qualities and sort of the personality traits that Tauruses are more likely to have according to zodiac sign mythology. Is it a mythology? I don't know what to call it. You know what I mean. But let's just go ahead and dive into the questions. So the first question, because Taurus is an earth sign, the first question is name a book with earth in the title. And let me tell you, I could not think of a single book I have read that has earth in the title. I looked on my Goodreads, I looked on Google. It doesn't exist. I don't have a book with earth in the title, so the closest thing I have is the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit, because they take place in Middle Earth, and you're just gonna have to give it to me because I literally could not find a book with earth in the title. That's not a very common word, especially to be in book titles, but I mean this is a pretty close second, because you know some people do refer to this as Middle Earth, Middle Earth stories, and there are bonus stories that explore the mythology within Middle Earth more that would then have earth in the title, but I don't have any of those. So this is as close as we're getting, but I just recently read these, really loved them. I'm so glad I finally bit the bullet and actually read all of them. I love the movie so much, so it was fun to actually go to the source material and experience the Middle Earth from the actual books. So the second question is pick a character or a best friend character that's very reliable, because it's said that Tauruses are a very reliable bunch, which I see. I mean, I see myself as quite loyal, quite reliable. I think that's just kind of a quality of a good person, I think, but I really like this one because a lot of the times the best friend character is the character I like more. In a lot of stories I just tend to identify with that character a lot more than the hero or the heroine. So I am going with Simon Lewis from the Mortal Instruments series. Simon Lewis is one of my all-time favorite characters. This is Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, which obviously follows him a lot more, and he is on this cover. And I just love him so much. I love him so much. He is such a good friend to Clary, and yeah, they briefly date, but that was weird and they got over it. And I think he's a good friend not only to Clary, but everyone around him. He always tries to be the best version of himself and help everyone, and he makes some pretty funny jokes while doing it, so I absolutely love him. I would love to have Simon as a best friend. I would also love to have Simon as a boyfriend, but you know, he's with Izzy, so I wouldn't want to take him from her. So I think Simon Lewis is one of the best friends you can have. There were so many choices I could have gone with for best friend because there's just so many amazing best friend characters. But I think Simon, he is one of the OG best friends, and I really love him. And it's making me really want to pick up a Cassandra Clare book, but the ones I have to read don't have Simon in them, which is sad. Maybe I should just reread this one. So, number 3 is Ruled by Venus. Apparently, Taurus is ruled by the goddess Venus, who is the equivalent of Aphrodite, if my Percy Jackson reading is doing me right. So with that, the question is, name your favorite romance book. And if you have ever been on my channel, you probably know that I have way too many romance books to name. I'm gonna probably give a few, but for historical romance, my favorite books as of now are the Uptown Girl series by Joanna Shupe. It is The Rogue of Fifth Avenue, The Prince of Broadway, and The Devil of Downtown. I love these books so much, and I love Joanna Shupe's writing so much. She is an incredible writer. She can write such a strong-minded, fierce heroine who also has really great balance between being strong but being feminine and being emotional. And then her heroes, man, they are incredible. They are soft, but they are strong, and they treat their women like just amazing. I love her writing so much, especially this trilogy. It is so, so good. If I were to choose some favorite contemporary romances, I love The Wedding Date by Jasmine Gilroy and The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. These are two very popular contemporary romances that are very big right now. They're both incredible stories. This is just such a fun twist on a sort of fake dating trope, and this is literally the perfect enemies to lovers in a contemporary setting with just incredibly fun writing, and I cannot wait for the movie. I also really love The Kiss Quotient by Helen Wong. I love just all of it. I love all of the romance books out there, basically. So that was a hard question for me to narrow it down, and obviously I didn't because I chose 5 books. Question number 4 is based on the fact that Tauruses are supposed to be very committed. So name a character who is very committed to whatever it is that they're doing. And I really liked this question, and I feel like maybe determined is another word that is used in this context. And I don't know if I'd always describe myself as that, just because sometimes it requires a lot of focus that I don't always have. But I will say, like, I've always been determined, I've always been committed to going to college and graduating and going into the medical field, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So I guess I'm committed, and I think there's a lot of really great characters that show this in so many different ways, but the character I'm going to highlight is, of course, Nesta from A Court of Silver Flames, or from the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I don't think that there has ever been a character that I relate to more than Nesta, and it's in her commitment, and I think it's her reluctance to be committed that makes her commitment mean so much more. She really, really struggles with believing in herself, believing that she can do all of this, and accepting the world that she's in, and accepting the strengths she has, and accepting the weaknesses that she has. So I think her commitment to her story, to her friends, to Cassian, to her sister, to the power she has, to the world she's now a part of, is just so, so beautiful. Literally, I could talk about how much I love Nesta for 1200 years. I mean, I did like a 30-minute review video of this book, so you know I can talk a lot about her. And I think that there's just so much to be admired in Nesta because of the way she commits to life and the way she, you know, acts. And it's more gratifying because it took so much struggle for her to get there. She had to really push herself in order to become committed, to become determined, and I think that's just a really, really beautiful story, and I love it so much, and I don't want to hear anyone talk shit about Nesta, okay? Thank you. The last prompt is, possessiveness is known to be a weakness. Name a character who exhibits this trait. And I didn't really like the word possessiveness, and I could not think of an example. So, and I kind of, like, I feel like it's kind of connected to determination, and like the word possessiveness is such a negative word. So I didn't know what to answer. So I kind of took it more as like fate kind of thing. So I have a couple answers for this one because I just don't know how to pick just one answer for a prompt. I took it as like the fated mates trope. I love the fated mates trope. I think it's such a beautiful way to tell a story, because obviously something like that is never going to happen in real life. Actual fated mates is not going to happen in the real world, so it's interesting to see how it changes the dynamic in a story inside of a book. And I think that there's so many stories that do this so well. I chose a couple that I think do this pretty well, and there are obviously a lot more, and there's a lot more of these on my TBR actually. But first off, just to get it out of the way, basically all of Twilight. So in the lore of Twilight, vampires do have sort of a fated mate situation. She never calls it like fate, but they do refer to each other as mates. And it's kind of like, I think Edward explains it in Midnight Sun, when a vampire sort of chooses that person, they find someone that they connect with and that person connects back with them, it's their mates. They're never going to change their mind. So like Carlisle and Esme met, and that was that. Same with, you know, Alice and Jasper. Alice has an advantage with the whole future thing. And then, you know, same with Rosalie and Emmett. And then when we get to Edward and Bella, it's the same thing. And so you could look at Edward as like possessive. He is possessive because he's a vampire, and you know, you see that come up a lot in a lot of vampire novels, and I think it's just sort of part of that fated mate story, and I really like that, and I think it's a really interesting way to tell a love story. I'm not saying I'm gonna walk outside and if someone came up to me and was like, "You're my fated mate," I'd be like, "Cool, K." That's not what it is. This is all a fictional universe, and that's why I don't really like calling it possessiveness. I feel like it's different. It's just a different way to tell a love story, and I really like the way it's executed in the Twilight series. And it's mirrored in the fact of how the werewolves imprint. It just has a different name. Imprinting is the same thing as fated mates. It's the same thing you see like in ACOTAR with their mate bond. It's a little bit different. It's a lot more tangible than mates between vampires in Twilight, but the wolves, theirs is like they feel it. When Jake explains it, he's like, the whole world shifts. Like he physically feels it. And I love the story of imprinting, and I know that's an unpopular opinion. I don't want to hear your opinion about it, sorry, but I love it. I think it's such an interesting story and such an interesting concept that it doesn't have to be romantic. Like, you see it multiple times with the wolves. Like, some of them imprint on a romantic partner, take like Sam and Emily, but then you have other characters who imprint on someone who becomes a best friend or a sibling. I really like that sort of plot. And the other example I thought of that I read a bit recently is in Scarlet and the rest of the Cinder series, the Lunar Chronicle series by Marissa Meyer. Wolf, in the way that he is kind of a werewolf, but not really. He's a genetically engineered man-wolf thing. He sort of imprints on a mate, just like we see in Twilight, just like we see in ACOTAR, all that sort of stuff. And he, you know, he attaches to Scarlet and she becomes like the beta and he's the alpha, that kind of thing. And I really like that story. I think it's so interesting to read, and this one, it's not as big of a plot point as it is in other series, but I really like the way it's executed here, and in basically most books I've ever read it in. I think it's a really interesting plot point. And of course, Throne of Glass, A Court of Thorns and Roses, like the Crave series, so many other books utilize this trope, and it's really one of my favorites, and that's why I chose to kind of speak about like fated mates, which sort of has to involve a sense of possessiveness because it's just fate bringing them together, and they feel like no one else could ever have this person. Like, this is my fate, this is my future, and I really love that. So I hope you enjoyed this little tag. I haven't done a bonus video in a little while, so I had fun just randomly filming this today. I thought it was a bit of fate for myself for this to come up on my feed on YouTube today. So I hope you enjoyed this tag. I believe she has quite a few of the other zodiac sign tags up on her channel if you want to check those out, or if you're a fellow Taurus like me, go ahead and do this tag. I think I know one booktuber who's also a Taurus, Allison in Wonderland. and I believe she is also a Taurus, so if you want to do this, Allison, go ahead. Or anyone else, or even if you're not a Taurus, just go for it. The questions really could apply to anyone. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I upload every Sunday, and sometimes when I'm avoiding homework like I am today, I'll have a bonus video during the week, and I hope you enjoy. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!